Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Donald Trump sits down with the enemy media. Amazon scrambles. Congress and Trump and RFK Jr. all in the news. Minneapolis mayor and, what do you call this? Candace Owens, all in the news, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman with all kinds of news the networks refuse to use just for you. Welcome to the show. I'm telling you right now, it's just crazy, the news going on. And that's exactly the way they want it, folks. This just too much news around the country is not by accident. It's Zelensky's plan. Just overwhelm them with so much information they won't know what's up, what's down. Now they're using AI. And just create deep fakes everywhere to where pretty soon you won't know what's true and what's not true. You won't be able to trust anybody or anything. But folks, you can learn to trust your spouse, your family. Hopefully we can rely on those things. At the end of the day, the only one you can really rely on is God Almighty. And then hopefully the people closest to you are true blue, right? That's for sure. But they're intentionally making this topsy world so confusing. They want everybody to feel hopeless. They want everybody to feel fear. They want everybody. I'm not buying that, man. I'm a faith-filled, God-fearing man. Yeah, I'm a man because God said I'm a man. I was born a man. It's part of my eternal characteristics. I was a man before I was born, up in heaven with my Father in heaven. And I'm a man after I die, ladies and gentlemen, because we don't die. Our spirits live on. Eventually, there's a great resurrection where the spirit and the body unite. I believe in all those Christian viewpoints. Well, anyway, people are criticizing the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. And I mentioned how they're in the Epstein files, and people are going, oh, boy. Yeah, the Mormon Church, they own Las Vegas. They control Hollywood. And those are the claims being made now by none other than Candace Owens. Candace Owens brought criticism after making, quote, factually inaccurate claims about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the LDS Church. Candace, what I'd really like you to do before you make these outrageous claims that are not even true, why don't you grab a Mormon or a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, such as myself, or there's other great people you could talk to, not leaders in the church, but just members. I've been in the church for 58 years because that's how old I am, okay? And I'm not telling you I know everything about the church, and I'm not telling you everything the church does is perfect. They're humans that run the church, and God allows humans to run the church. But it is the Church of Jesus Christ. It is his church. It bears his name. And we claim modern revelation and the restoration of the gospel, and that Jesus heads the church. But there's fallible people on the earth. Know that. But conservative commentator Candace Owens recently discussed the LDS Church in online commentary. But critics note she misstated several basic facts about Mormons' beliefs, church structure, and true church history. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And I don't mean to be rude to her. I really want to help her. She's trying to stay relevant in the news. And so she has claims about Charlie Kirk, some of which are valid. Some of her investigations really good and helpful. A lot of it's not. This continued division over things that we don't know is not helpful. Attacking the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a huge mistake because it's not even based on facts. The inaccuracies prompted pushback from LDS members and observers who argued the claims by Candace Owens simply reflect misunderstanding rather than an informed critique. That's the problem. Anyway, I don't mean to attack Candace in any way. I do mean to say, though, Candace, it'll be really smart. It would be really wise for you to get people who know what they're talking about. Okay? For example, the Mormon Church owns Las Vegas. That isn't true at all. If so, why is Las Vegas so opposite of what we teach in every way? When you walk down the streets in Vegas, one of my good friends, former co-host Kurt Crosby, used to say, Las Vegas is a great place for blind people. Because you don't see all the perversion around you, right? You don't see the sex signs, the call girls, the all the different salacious, tempting, whatever. You don't see all that everywhere. You don't see people or buses with pornography on them. And you don't see, okay, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does not own Las Vegas. That's just not even true. The truth is it's owned by the gambling cartels, and they're just as bad as the drug cartels and the sex trafficking cartels and everything else. And the government of Nevada allows gambling. The United States government turns a blind eye to the gambling and allows certain people that own casinos to have a special privilege over the rest of us. In anything that relates to me, anytime I would set up something that would unfairly give me an advantage, it would be considered wrong and I'd be shut down and arrested. But, you know, we let Nevada and Las Vegas and all these casinos, by law, create algorithms in their machines, their computers, that literally promote special privilege for some, grinding the face of the poor, right? That's what we do. And we're doing it more and more and more and more and more. There's more casinos, more gambling every day. But what evidence does she have that the Mormon Church owns Vegas? Now, don't get me wrong. There's some private sector accounting firms and security firms and things like that do a lot for Las Vegas, that take care of the hotels and take care of the casinos. I've happened to know some of those people. But that doesn't mean that they control Las Vegas. It just means, hey, there's a lot of money in big buildings and big hotels and hey, there's Mormons that are involved in that. But the Mormon Church is not involved in or controlling Las Vegas in any way. There's just no evidence to that as well. No evidence. So Candace, you got to stop that. Okay? Then she, goes on and makes other claims. Just false. She talks about apostles that, well, she doesn't even have the name of the apostles right. Now, here's what I recommend, Candace, because I don't want to point out a problem, and I don't want to point fingers. I know you want to report, and I know you want to get truth, because I believe you're a truth teller, Candace. I really do. And so I would like to offer my services to Candace Owens. I would like to go on the Candace Owens show, and we can talk about the Mormons, the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because there's a big difference between the leadership and the members. And there's a big difference between the leadership and some decisions that are made not by the apostles and prophets. Remember, when you have such a big worldwide organization with 17 million plus members in countries all around the world, I mean, they've got literally temples everywhere around the world. I shouldn't say everywhere, in many, 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 many countries and places. It's a global, international church with members. There's more members outside of the United States than there is inside the United States, to make the point. So they've got a very difficult job, and they run the church in a lot of ways like a business. And you can't blame them for that, because you've got to comply with the world, and you say, oh, well, there's scandals with money, and they covered up this, and they did this and that. You don't know both sides of the story, ladies and gentlemen. You only know what the mainstream press peddles or the enemies of the church peddle. That's all you know. And you got to be careful, because there's two sides to every story. Remember that. So I would like to offer my services to Candace Owens. She can get me and, find 2 or 3 or 4 other Mormons. Get a panel. You can get somebody maybe in leadership if they're willing to do it. You can get average members like me who are not in leadership and who do not speak for the church, but who understand the customs, who understand the doctrine. I've been in it 60 years almost, people. I'm not saying I know everything, but I've been trained in the ministry for 4 years in a seminary training program. I went on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so I basically worked and taught the principles there. And so I'm not telling you I know everything, but I've got a pretty dang good background in the doctrine, in the church, in the church. And I'm not going to go back and look at the old details of the church that this or that happened, and I'm not going to have a quarrel with the past. But I am willing to tell you what we believe and what we stand on today. I'll give you an example. Polygamy is a great example. Hey, the early members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, some of them did involve themselves in polygamy. But polygamy has been outlawed in the country and in the church for, since the 1890s? So what are we, 135 years from that or more? 1890s, 1990s, that's 100, like 135, whatever years. Okay, so I don't want to talk about decisions that were made then versus what the policies of the church are now, because we weren't there in the 1800s, and none of us really have the facts. That's the problem. We always get into these territories where we don't have details. But if you want to talk about what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believes now, If you want to point to a specific scandal that we can discuss in detail, I'm all open to that. And I won't just protect the church. I will tell you the truth as I understand it. And you let me and several other members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, leaders, members, even bring a critic or two, by all means, Candace. But set up a panel and let's talk about this openly, candidly. And let's separate fact from fiction. Let's separate truth from error. That's the only request that I have of Candace Owens. I'm offering my services for free. I don't have an agenda. I'm not attacking Candace. I'm just saying, hey, let's round this out and ground it to facts. That's important to do. I think in the media, that's the responsible thing to do. And I offer my services to help. Hang tight. Liberty Roundtable Live.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
As the United States boldly stepped forward in the glorious light provided by its new Constitution in 1787, the nations of the earth were in awe of the newfound strength and hope of this free land. Today, the nation stands at a crossroads. A divergence from the original intent put forth in the United States Constitution has brought grave threats to our beloved nation. A miracle is needed if the United States is to survive. That miracle is again the pure application of the United States Constitution. I'm Scott Bradley. In my To Preserve the Nation book and lecture series, I bring forth truths that will help raise up a new generation of statesmen like those noble Americans who founded this land. Vigorous application of these principles will invigorate and restore the nation, and we may become again the freest, most prosperous, most respected, and happiest nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com to begin that restoration.
Back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, Donald Trump won money from several different companies because of their fraudulent reporting. And NBC is not one of them. Okay? But Trump now sits down with NBC. Yeah. He sits down with Tom, how do you say this guy's name? I don't really know much about him. Lamans? Yeah, for what they call a Super Bowl interview. The first clip of the interview aired last night. Kind of interesting. So it's like a teaser for the Super Bowl, etc. President Trump gives an exclusive interview to NBC News anchor Tom Lamans. The interview, they say, was recorded at the White House and is part of NBC's Super Bowl LX coverage. The preview aired last night on CBS Nightly News Tonight. And they say the larger segment, so the interview was kind of a teaser, the larger segment will be ran during Super Bowl's pregame show. They say it's a long-standing tradition of a, quote, presidential Super Bowl interview. One of the most watched political moments of the year, they say. Now, here's my problem with it all. Number one, I don't know why the president needs to be, highlighted at the Super Bowl. The president can do State of the Union addresses before Congress. He can call press conferences or firesides, as some presidents have done in the past. He can cover the news, cover the commentary, whatever he wants to highlight and focus on. He can get the nation to watch, and he can get the news to tell the tale of whatever. But this Super Bowl interview, in my opinion, gives special access and privilege to the president in unique ways. So let's say that I'm the Super Bowl guys. Hey, if I can get the President of the United States to do an interview, especially tease it online and then promote it, several nights before on one of our talk shows, one of our late night TV news segments or whatever. And then, hey, he can do the pregame show and interview with Donald. And wow, what a boost to the Super Bowl. How much more can I charge now for tickets to the Super Bowl, for commercials on NBC? It's giving special privilege to certain press. Now, here's the problem. NBC is better than some because they haven't been sued by Trump and lost a lot of money, Trump winning money from their dishonest reporting. But this is a mainstream news network that Trump is giving special privilege time to. Is that smart? I don't think that's wise. Now you say, well, Sam, that's tradition. That's been done for a long time. I know. It's tradition now, but it wasn't before. And especially when the interview is recorded at the White House. How many people get access to use the White House B-roll footage and White House, location footage with an interview and everything else? Okay, when it's part of the Super Bowl coverage and it's the White House and it's the president and it's... Now, I'm not for the fairness doctrine. I'm against it because I don't think the government can be the arbiter of truth or whatever. But I'm just saying this is where Trump criticizes the mainstream press till the cows come home. And then he jumps on the mainstream press and takes advantage of the Super Bowl hype. Donald and the Super Bowl. Wow. Preceded by NBC Nightly News Tonight. Larger segment to run during the special show of Super Bowl. They say it's a long-standing tradition. I have a problem with the whole thing. It's not that I have a problem with Trump wanting to be interviewed. It's not that I have a problem with NBC wanting an interview with President Trump. Hey, that's coveted coverage that everybody wants. But why is Donald going to the mainstream press over and over? He appears on CNN. He appears on Fox. He appears on NBC. He appears on all these shows. And then anything goes wrong and he sues them and hates them and criticizes them. But then where does he go tomorrow? Same people, same place, same channel, same story, right? Why? When is President Trump going to come on, well, like a Turning Point USA show and tease the Turning Point USA halftime show and then appear in the pregame or appear in the Turning Point coverage? Or maybe appear on Friday on Sam Bushman's show saying, hey, Super Bowl's in a couple of days and, you guys can watch. When, forget Sam Bushman for a minute, when is Donald Trump going to really reward the new media taking center stage? Those who are honest and fair and truth tellers and et cetera. Or is he just going to continue to promote the mainstream press, which he criticizes relentlessly? If they're as bad as he says, why is he giving them time and attention and special privilege promotion? Is that a fair question? All right, an exclusive interview, too. I want an exclusive interview. The interview was recorded at the White House. Why don't they fly Sam Bushman into the White House? And some of my producers and team, some of the talk show hosts from the Loving Liberty Networks. And why don't we go ahead and just walk around the White House and cover and get special privilege, and then we can air it as a pre-teaser on our show, and then it can air during the Super Bowl and give us credibility. They say it's one of the most watched political moments of the year. Whoa, wait. Is the Super Bowl supposed to be taken in the direction of politics? It's a long-standing tradition to have a presidential Super Bowl interview. One of the most watched political moments of the year. And here, how dumb am I? I thought that sports was supposed to take a side from politics. And it was supposed to say, hey, those of you who just like great sportsmanship, incredible talent and athleticism on the field, and those of you who want to be involved in a national pastime, and hey, great. But now we've turned it into one of the greatest political moments of the year. Donald should refuse and say, I'm not going to that clown show. I don't support Bad Bunny, and I'm not going to endorse it. But he already has. So now Donald Trump and Bad Bunny are virtually performing together in the same venue. Well, they're not together because Bad Bunny's doing the halftime show and Donald's only got the pregame show. Donald ought to be offended at that. He ought to just somehow sideline Bad Bunny, send Bad Bunny back to Puerto Rico there and go ahead and I need the halftime show. I'm the Donald. See? I could do a reality TV show better than anybody. We'll do the Apprentice halftime show and you're fired. and fire half the government. See? All I'm saying is it's very, very strange how when Trump wants to criticize the media and he gets brownie points for doing it, it happens relentlessly. And I appreciate it because I think a lot of it's true. The mainstream press has been dishonest in their coverage in many, many, many cases. But at the same time now, he acts like those people are the enemy of the world, the scum of the earth, horrible people. But yet, hey, tomorrow, yeah, it's a long-standing tradition. Yeah, I got that presidential Super Bowl interview where there's great coverage. I mean, it's one of the most watched, quote, political, quote, moments of all time. It'd be more watched if you had halftime, Donald. You're getting ripped off with just the pregame show, buddy. You're getting snooped. You're getting spanked by Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's got the top slot, buddy, and you just got the runner-up slot, Donald. I look at that and go, wow. That's what we're seeing happening, folks. It's tragic. I don't think we ought to have the president speak or promote or interview or anything with any special group tying into the Super Bowl, giving them a huge advantage over all other news services. I do support the Turning Point USA saying we don't want a perverted rappers hate America halftime show. Would prefer a good, honest American show. Good for Turning Point on that front. And again, I'm not really here to attack the Donald. I'm just here to say, President Trump, you got to think through this stuff a little bit. You're aiding and abetting what you believe to be the bad guys in the news. And you're promoting a halftime show by a Bad Bunny who hates America. And you're kind of partnering with that. Your silence says more than what you say out loud sometimes. Your participation adds fuel to the fire and gives credibility to those who shouldn't have credibility in the first place. Turning Point's doing it right. They're saying we don't like it, we're against it, and we're creating an alternative. Donald, you could have helped create the alternative. You could have gone with Turning Point or anybody else for that matter, but you chose to take advantage of the biggest crowds all year long. Right? More people watch the Super Bowl than even your press conferences, Donald. And so I understand you're taking advantage of the long-standing tradition, but it's a tradition that I think needs to go away. That's just my humble opinion. All right, I got good news. Amazon's now scrambling to get Melania Trump's movie into hundreds, possibly thousands, of new theaters after Monday numbers blow away expectations. Michael Schwarz over at westernjournal.com has the piece, and it's a great piece. And it basically talks about this deal where, hey, Melania's movie turned out to be a lot better than they thought. Now, we reported on this Tuesday. Sheriff Richard Mack and his lovely wife Dawn went to the movie Melania. Sheriff Mack withstood about 10 minutes of it, couldn't take it, left, and went to go watch Greenland 2. He said he didn't like it. It was just modeling and just kind of girl stuff, and so he bailed. Dawn loved the movie and thought it was incredible. Well, the mainstream press has attacked the movie. The main, quote, movie critics and everything else hate the movie. But the American people like the movie. And they want to see it. And they want to learn more about the First Lady. And they want to know what happened in the 20 days up to the inauguration of Donald Trump 47, if you will. And so people want to know, and it's done way better than they thought. And Amazon spent $75 million on this baby. An unprecedented amount of money. $40 million to make the movie and $35 million to advertise and promote that sucker. Well, now they've already got over $7 million in the first weekend it was released. This movie has the chance to do really, really, really well. And all I'm saying is this, I support it. I want to go see the movie. I don't know how much of it I'll like, but I'm willing to go see it. And I will say this about it, too. I would like to learn more about not just the 20 days up to President Trump's election and make it about Trump. I'd like to learn about Melania's life. I think a movie on her life would be incredible. Lived in a foreign country, came to America, ask an immigrant, how does she like America? What are the blessings of America in Melania's view? I'd love to learn about that. All right, hang tight. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live. I'm Sam Bushman, and buddy, I got a whole bunch of news the networks refuse to use. Straight ahead. Stay there. Liberty Roundtable Live.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. The United States and Russia have agreed to restart high-level military dialogue. The decision follows talks in Abu Dhabi where an American general who commands both U.S. and NATO forces in Europe met with senior Russian and Ukrainian officials. The last remaining nuclear arms pact between Russia and the United States expires today, lifting limits on their atomic arsenals for the first time in more than a half-century.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed readiness to stick to the treaty's limits for another year if the U.S. agreed. President Trump has been non-committal, saying that he wants China to be a part of it, a push that Beijing has rebuffed.
Correspondent Karen Chamis. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie's family is pleading for her safe return. The mother of the Today Show, Savannah Guthrie, was abducted from her Arizona home last weekend. Savannah and her siblings posting a video to Instagram appealing to the kidnappers.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she's alive and that you have her.
The family posted the message Wednesday after police conducted a search in and around Nancy Guthrie's home for several hours.
Mommy.
The Today Show host also with a message for her mother.
You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you.
I'm Ben Thomas.
All of the patients were safely evacuated following last night's fire at the Orthopedic Institute of Lehigh Valley Hospital, Dixon City, Pennsylvania, just to the north of Scranton. Sell-off is underway this morning on Wall Street, with the Dow down about 582 points. The NASDAQ Composite Index is off 361. That's a loss of about 1.5%. More on these stories, townhall.com.
This President's Day, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Benjamin Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G service. What's up with that? Ben Franklin wasn't even a president. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be in business with an American wireless company that supports our vets in a big way and keeps all their customer service in this country. That's important. And you'll be on the same towers the big carriers use, so you'll get the same 5G service without the inflated price. So hang on to your Benjamins and switch to Pure Talk for a Jackson and a Lincoln. No contract, no hidden fees. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll get 50% off your first month when you switch. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, for an American wireless company that is truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody better having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt. And there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Get ready to be part of something incredible. We're breaking barriers and delivering the powerful stories that mainstream media won't touch. Your support is what fuels our mission to revolutionize journalism and bring you the truth. Join our passionate community of changemakers by donating at libertynewsradio.com today. Together, we're creating the future of news.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
All right, if I was RFK Jr., ladies and gentlemen, I'd be absolutely livid right now. You got to wonder why, huh? Because there's headlines, and the headlines tell the tale, folks. You know how I tell you that Congress is a clown show, and they haven't done anything to back Donald Trump? They've been undermining him at every turn. Donald Trump and RFK Jr. were pretty much united, saying we got to decrease the size of the Department of Health and Human Services, DHS, big time. And so RFK went about it. But now Congress and Trump reverse RFK Jr. cuts. Yep, they've restored funding. They've restored, I guess, the whole thing again. They brought back employees. They've refunded it. They've really shut down everything that RFK worked for. It's just insane, folks. I don't know how to respond to it, really. But they say after months of downsizing, reduced staff, consolidating offices, and pushing thousands of employees out, Congress has now reversed course, and they've restored funding and staffing levels for federal budgets. Wow. Yeah, the departments by the cuts have got back all the people and all the money. President Trump, of course, signed the funding bill, backing the change and effectively rejecting the earlier reduction strategy. Think about that. The move rolls back forced cuts and departmental shrinkage that was promoted as efficiency before, and efficiency reforms, right? Forcing agencies to rehire and ramp up operations again. Lawmakers from both parties blame the decision as Congress reasserting its constitutional power of the purse, signaling that, hey, man, the cuts went way too far, disrupted core government functions. This is horrible, so we're going to go ahead and pull rank on the Donald. We're going to pull rank on Bobby Kennedy. We're going to restore everything. The result is a, quote, sharp policy reversal. Departments that were downsized under, quote, reform promises are now expanding again, leaving critics to wonder, were these disruptions necessary? Were they effective? Were they sustainable in the first place? No, it was a big clown show. That's the bottom line. So if I was RFK, I'd be livid. I'd also be frustrated with Donald Trump if I was Tom Homan right now, because Tom Homan getting out, taking care of business, getting the illegals out of the country, especially the criminals. And now Donald's like, we got to be a little softer and gentler in Minnesota. It was my idea. See, now he's taking credit from Tom Homan. It was my idea. I'm the one that approved reducing, how many ever employees are not there now, right? What is it, 700, whatever? Now there's still 2,000 there, something like that. And, hey, it's softer, and they say it's a start. What you do when you do that, though, is you let the criminals win. You let the governments that are standing against the proper role of the federal government get away with this. You know, Donald Trump said it was insurrection and kind of treasonous before. He hinted at all that. Now he's kind of giving them credibility, going, yeah, you're right, we were too harsh, we got to back off and soften this thing. And Tom Homan's going, oh, we still got to go after the criminals, though. That's great. But, man, now what? I mean, they talked about this, right? But then President Trump signs the funding bill, and you say, well, Sam, he had to. You think? I don't think so. Lawmakers from both parties framed the decision, listen carefully to this, as, quote, Congress reasserting its constitutional power of the purse, saying the cuts went too far and it disrupted core government functions. All right, this is where Trump and Bobby Kennedy, they went, now that Congress has undermined Trump, and they've basically put Trump in a bad position. If he didn't sign it, government would be blamed, the shutdown on government would be blamed on the Donald because he wouldn't sign. But yet the House and the Senate handed Donald his head. They said, hey, we have the power of the purse. Why don't they say that when it comes to out-of-control war spending? Why don't they say that when it comes to foreign aid? Why don't they say that when, the power of the purse, but they didn't cut back spending. They didn't reduce spending. They simply kicked the can down the road, lied to the American people, kept the government open. But they're using their power of the purse now to undermine Bobby Kennedy, undermine President Trump, undermine what the Republicans said they were going to accomplish the whole time the elections happened. And now they're, we're going to use the power of the purse. It's our constitutional obligation. Yeah, the cuts went too far. We're going to restore it all. The result is a sharp policy reversal. It's not just like, we're going to clarify a little bit. We let a little bit too many people go. We need to bring back a little bit. There's a little bit of a balance here. I would understand that. But when you have a result of a sharp reversal forced by Congress asserting their constitutional power of the purse, and they're now doing it to increase government, who's responsible? Republicans. Who's responsible? Democrats. As Rand Paul points out, with the Federal Reserve and the spending of money, the whole body is careless with your money. Departments that were downsized under the reforms, now they're expanding again. That's a disgrace, people. It really is. That's just like, wow. So if I was RFK, I'd be livid. But of course, he can't say anything. If he's not careful and he says anything, then he won't be loyal to the Donald. And then he'll be out like Green. By the way, Donald just named the replacement for Green, from what I understand. Why is that happening? Yeah. Because then somebody becomes an incumbent and they get special privileges before the next election and say we like to claim there's no election tampering, right? It's just insanity, people. Donald's claiming there's election fraud with no evidence. And now I just gave you some evidence. When you have certain people pick who stays in power, and in the middle when somebody resigns and somebody else goes in, they get special privilege because they're now an incumbent. Harder to remove. They've had time to build a war chest. They've had time to make friends and influence people and and get funding and tapped into support and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, there you have it. All right, now listen up. This issue about Minneapolis is just starting to bug me because we're being lied to, in my opinion. We got Tom Homan going way too hard on immigration. Everybody's against him. Now they say 2/3 of the American people say that Tom Homan and company's going too hard. So Tom's like, got to show our soft side. No. The problem is it's being framed all wrong. We're allowing rioters riot in the streets. We're allowing governments at local levels to go against the general government. We called it insurrections at one point. Now Donald's backed off of that. Now he's basically wanting to show a softer side. But that's not the way to go. Minneapolis mayor, I should say, Jacob Frey, or whatever this guy's name is, he's suddenly concerned now about his city's sanctuary-based economy. The GatewayPundit.com has the piece on this. And this is serious. This is a story that matters because it really tells the tale here. So Jacob Frey, the mayor, is super worried about his economy, he claims. And he claims that it's all Donald and Tom Homan and this ICE agenda that's just destroying everything. So the ongoing ICE operation, I don't know if you know what the term for it is, but they're calling it Operation Metro Surge, right? I don't know if you've heard that term, but that's what it's called, Operation Metro Surge. So the ongoing ICE Operation Metro Surge has now been active for nearly 3 months. They say causing severe economic repercussions across Minneapolis. So Jacob Frey is all worried about this now. ICE officials, they say, continue to patrol the area, significantly affecting local immigrant-owned businesses. And many nearby businesses, they say, have already closed because it's so bad. The city of Minneapolis estimates weekly losses of up to $20 million a week due to decreased business activities, affecting sectors such as hotels, retailers, and arts kind of organizations. According to, quote, Eric Hansen, he's the city's director of communications, or I guess the director of community planning is what he is, and economic development. He's basically jumping in, saying that one investor even postponed a housing development because of, well, they say, unstable prospects. Yeah, like they might get removed from the country because they're illegal, that kind of stuff, you mean? Oh, I see. Okay. Local businesses, they say, are feeling the impact intensely. They say the Latino community, the Latino Economic Development Center, revealed that only one-fifth, so 20% of surveyed businesses were operating normally. Half of them were facing what they call critical damage. Community efforts and private initiatives, like the Minneapolis Foundation, they got a $3.5 million fund, and they're providing some relief, but they say yet the scope of the crisis extends beyond the immediate financial concerns and aid. I've got more. We'll talk about it in seconds. You're watching the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
The ongoing ISEP operation is called Operation Metro Surge. It's been going on for 3 months now. And Jacob Frey, the mayor over there in Minneapolis, is complaining. Here's Jacob Frey, then I'll give my response.
So I'm sitting at my desk here and just got some really sobering figures about the impact that this Operation Metro Surge by ICE is having on our communities. And we've all heard about the families getting torn apart. We've all heard about the constitutional violations. We've heard about people going hungry. And in addition to that, there's a massive impact on our small and local businesses. Small local businesses collectively are losing between $10 and $20 million every single week. Businesses along cultural corridors are down at least 50%, and the Latino-owned businesses and Somali-owned businesses are drastically below that. Hotels have lost about $4.4 million because of cancellations. And so for those that claim that they care about our economy and care about businesses, there is a very quick and straightforward antidote to bring these businesses back, which is to have Operation Metro Surge end and to have ICE leave our city. Let's bring the economy back. Let's help these businesses out. Let's make sure that our city can return to this great comeback that we were seeing, and let's get ICE to leave.
All right, Jacob Frey, I couldn't disagree with you more. I can do so agreeably, though. I don't need to attack you personally. You might be a great person. Okay, I don't know you, so I don't really know, but you sound like a nice guy. And so I just want to basically clearly be agreeable, but completely disagree with you. The city of Minneapolis claims or estimates weekly losses because of this metro surge, $20 million a week. $20 million a week. That's more than $80 million a month, folks. That's a lot of money. If it's been going on for 3 months, then they're claiming it's cost around, $250 million just in that one city alone. But what he wants is he wants to get rid of the operation. He wants the government to go home, and he wants to just go back to business as usual. But to me, this whole thing in Minnesota is a big distraction. Why do you say that? Because I don't believe that we're being told the truth. Look, the real issue is the scandal the Somalis pulled on all the American people, on the taxpayer. Billions of dollars. Forget about the money that Jacob and company is losing. It's pennies. It's nothing. Furthermore, how come Jacob and crew didn't complain when they had insurrections? Literally gangs and thugs and rioters and protesters and getting crazy in the streets in Minneapolis back in the day, a couple of years ago, and they didn't have a problem with any of that. That was actually golden, they said. So the destruction of the country is just fine. The rioting and raging and violating the intent of the founding fathers of the First Amendment, the right to peacefully assemble, they promoted and protected that. Businesses even had to leave, and they didn't care. But now that it's Tom Homan, now that it's get rid of the illegal alien criminals in our country, then they're all rioting and going, oh my gosh, we're losing business. So rather than have ICE leave your city, rather than shut down Operation Metro Surge, Jacob Frey, what you should be doing is the mayor is saying this. Hey, we don't want criminal illegal aliens in our midst either. We do want to defend and protect legally owned citizens' businesses. Or if you're here on some other entity rather than a citizen, but you're legitimately here, not on an expired green card, but legitimately here for whatever reason, that we protect you and, support you. That's all good and fine. But we could do that if Tom Homan and company could sit down and work with the police locally at the jails, get these criminals before they ever go back out into the streets in a very safe environment. They're already arrested. They're already stripped down, and we know they don't have any contraband or weapons or can create harm. We could turn them over quickly and easily. We could work with the mayor and the city and the eyes and ears of the community called community policing, and work with the sheriff and work with the local police people there, and we could find out who the criminals really are, and we could rid our city of criminals, and we could do it behind the scenes for the most part. It wouldn't have to be an in-your-face, riot shields up, force fight, kick out tail lights, go crazy in the streets in Minneapolis, and we don't have to have that. The mayor, the governor, several people, the county sheriffs, they could all sit down with Tom Homan and sit down with the folks leading this ICE effort, and they could work out ways to peacefully deal with this. But it reminds me of how they do government shutdowns. Okay? The way they do government shutdowns is they don't shut down the things that really ought to be shut down. Those things run on, quote, autopilot. What they do is they shut down things that relate to you and me. So they're like, when you go to the national park now, you can't go to the bathroom. The bathrooms are locked and closed because, government shut down. And so they do things that relate to you personally to make you feel the pain. They don't do things that ought to really be shut down. They don't take on any real issues. It's a clown show. Congress gets paid while government's shut down, but you can't go to the bathroom because the door's locked because they can't unlock it and clean the bathrooms because, golly, they're all furloughed because, man, the government shut down. Do you see the hypocrisy? Well, they're doing the same thing to this. Okay? Look, we don't need ICE to go away. We need to get illegal criminals out of our society. It's dangerous for everyone. Jacob Frey, don't you know that? The way to do it, though, is to work with him in the jails and work with the police and work with the local, find out who the leaders are that are rioting and going crazy, find out if they really belong to the communities or if they're imports brought in by pay, brought in by money, brought in by agenda, and you can route those people out of your town immediately. Arrest them. Threaten them with deportation. If they're illegal, deport them, especially if they're criminals and acting as criminals. You don't have to make the population in fear. What you want to do is turn the population into supporters. And so you do that, Jacob Frey, by having the government cooperate and create a plan that everybody agrees with. If there's people in America that are illegal, but they're not criminals, let's give them the plan of mercy. Let's find a way forward for those people. I'm not saying amnesty, but there is a way forward. Let's then be hardcore on the criminals. Let's have justice be true justice and take care of business. And if you put together a plan like that, it could work, Jacob. But you're too busy downing Tom Homan, trashing ICE, downing Donald Trump in your hate Trump derangement syndrome kind of an idea to where you can't even have common sense anymore, sir. I don't mean to attack you, but what I'm saying is you don't just have to kick ICE out and then, hey, the stores will all come back. What you got to do is get rid of the illegals in your community that are criminals. What you got to do is work together and make government actually function based on checks and balances, based on the Constitution, the state constitution and the general constitution, to demand everyone work in their own lane. President, attorney generals, sheriffs, you guys are on the front lines from the executive team. Got it? Good. Coordinate. Work together, baby. Courts. Yeah. District attorneys, attorney general, all these people. Hey, they're in the courts. Let them work together. The people that are legislative bodies, let's not just fight against Tom, fight against Donald. Let's look at the law and say, how are we going to obey the law? And if there's problems with the law, then let's talk about changing it. That's wise, fair, honest, good. Right? Anyway, the city says they're losing $20 million a week. Well, you don't have to kick ICE out and have a big old showdown. All you got to do is get to the table and become civil and work together for solutions. That's what we hired you all for. Remember, you worked for us and we hired you. And we hired you not to create a clown show and not to have just a fight at every level of government. We contacted you and hired you and said, go to work for us. We elected you because we wanted change. We wanted a difference. We wanted to work together and solve problems. Anyway, last story of the hour, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Wednesday to allow California Democrats to move forward with their voter-approved gerrymandered maps ahead of the 26 midterm elections. The Republicans are angry about this because they lost. The Democrats are happy about it. So let me get this right. The Democrats and Republicans both went to the trough and said, hey, this is bad. We've got gerrymandered, bogus maps. We need to force a change. So in Texas, they forced a change and it went Republican. And in California, they forced a change and it went Democrat. And there you have it. And now no one's better off. Right? Nobody's better off. All we have is the Democrats entrenched more in California, the Republicans entrenched more in Texas. Both of them are basically adding funds back to the National Institutes of Health and to the Department of Health and Human Services. And Bobby Kennedy should be livid. And all I'm telling you is Congress is overturning half of what Trump and Bobby Kennedy and Doge and everybody else did. It looked like it was a great effort, and I was really hoping and praying it would be real and standing for it. But now Doge is gone. All that Doge stood for, there's lawsuits everywhere. The Republicans and Democrats are spanking Donald and increasing funding everywhere. Nobody can get along. Congress can't get anything funded except for greater spending. They haven't really changed the game at all. But on the midterms, they're going to say we're better than the other guys. And look at all that Donald did that we supported, even though half of it they didn't support. Proof is in the pudding. Donald and RFK reduced the size and scope of the Department of Youth and Health, or the Department of Health and Human Services, big time. Employees, money, everything. He was the leader in terms of getting it done. And now it's all been reversed. And Congress said, we got the power of the purse, baby. We're not going to decrease spending. We're going to increase it and bring it all back. Meanwhile, the education department's not even close to gone. I don't mean to be negative, but I want to be truthful about the news. And here's the truth. If you think you're going to solve the problems of America in Washington, D.C., you're wrong. You think you're going to solve it through partisan politics, taking half the country with you and pointing blame at the other half of the country? You're not getting it done. That's just the clown show. That's just the massive distraction. If you want to solve problems, it starts in your own heart and in your own life. It starts with leadership. It starts with solutions. I don't point out problems without solutions. What's the solution? We need to fire all those who voted to restore funding to the Department of Health and Human Services against Trump's and Bobby Kennedy's better judgment. You say, well, Trump signed it. I know, but he had to. He was put in a corner, really, by Congress, who betrayed Donald on this topic, in my humble opinion. There you have it. Hard-hitting commentary. Agree or disagree. Let's be kind. Let's just accept that we can all have differences of opinions. That's the brilliance, the joy, the blessing of America. Freedom used correctly is liberty. I believe in it. Do you? I also believe in Jesus Christ. He lives. He loves us. God save the Republic of the United States of America.